Welcome along to Betting Weekly Premier League Show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. It is match day one of the new top flight season. Hope springs eternal for teams, for owners, for players, for managers, and of course for bettors. The P&L is set to zero. Nigel, how are you? What are we looking at when it comes to opening weekend matches? Is it match day one trends? Is it summer signings? Is it friendlies? Is it late last season form? What are we going to war with match day one?
Good morning to you all. Well, got a nice, exciting season. Looking forward to it. Lots of football on the television across the world. Lots of action coming in. The optimism is always high at the start of the football season. By about November, I'm done in. But it's always extremely high, and it's really nice to see the highest profit we've had on this show for 2 years. Zero.
We're in a strong position.
Brilliant to see that this is the best it's been. So take a screenshot of that and make sure you see that. But the other things you look forward to, obviously, new signings are crucial. Obviously, managers changing this season as well, going to make a big important factor. I don't necessarily look at pre-season friendlies. I've never have been a fan of pre-season friendlies. I always think the first couple of weeks of the season are very difficult to call. Obviously, you can get off to a good start. It's great. But if you get off to a bad start, don't become too disillusioned, because when the form gets going around about November time, then you usually get more profit. But I think definitely the new signings, if they gel, managers, people leaving clubs, and basically coming into seasons where people are actually undecided. So we've got like two big transfer sagas that are unresolved. The Isaac situation at Newcastle, Eze at Crystal Palace, linked with a couple of big clubs. And I think that sort of doesn't make it very easy for the players in and around that club as well. So lots of things to look forward to. I'll give you the trends in a minute, but I'm sure I want to hear from Jack.
Yes, Jack, what do you look for? I think match day one and indeed match day 2 and 3 are difficult. We haven't got any form to go on. I thought, late last season form, I thought that might be a key indicator. So obviously, when
he's
Sheffield
a good signing, key indicator. I like it. He's a good left back.
When Sheffield United played Bristol City in the opening weekend of the season, well, hang on. That was late last season in the playoffs. Surely I've got to weigh into Sheffield United actually hammer Bristol City. It did me money last weekend. What are we looking for, Jack, opening weekend of the season?
Yeah, good day to you both and to everyone back on the channel. It is great to be back. And I think there is just a combination of things, isn't it, really? I think sometimes a side who have dipped in form at the back end of the last season can sometimes have a bit of a hangover into the new one. I think the mood music in a team, around a team, is quite important at this stage. And I think I'd like to side with the more settled sides rather than those that have either had a lot to change or have a bit of a turbulent behind the scenes setup, really, to be fair. It's always tough early doors, as we've said. You want to have a little bit of form guide to go with, some stats in the book to back it up. This is more of a bit of a gut feel, and say more of more leans than anything else. And you generally say keep your powder dry, but of course for our P&L we keep it settled throughout the season, and it's the 2-unit and then 2 1-unit plays. So but I've got a couple of confident picks today, so let's bring it on.
Look, wonderful. Match day one trends, last 3 years, so 30 bets. If you played under 2.5 goals, you've been profit by about 8 points. And we haven't had a 0-0 by my reckoning since the 1920 season
20s.
On match day one. Not the 1920s.
That's when that was a great season for the 0-0 to take to that one. That season. Price went up.
Did you say you've got some? You want to give us some trends, Nigel? Or are we going?
Well, you're lazy. Roebuck's gone in very lazy. I must admit, only done 3 seasons trends. What lazy Roebuck? And he's obviously done that because he's obviously wants to make a point for the unders. So he hasn't gone further back.
Come on, what you got?
Lazy
what
trends.
You got?
Last 5 seasons, 50 matches rather than your 30 matches there.
Yeah.
It's a dead level. It's 25 match over, 25 match under on the over.
Well, that'd be profit for unders. Unders is
that would be profit for unders, but there was last season was a very, very good one. It was 7 unders and 3 overs, and then you go back, it was 5 and 5, 5 and 5, and then 3 and 7, and 5 and 5 again. So it is pretty much a very, very even time of the year. So, you do tend to find that unders a little bit more in the first game of the season, make you a little bit more profit. If you bet every favourite in those last 5 seasons, you would have made 5.57 units for a 1-unit stake.
Love that.
If you bet every dog, you'd be minus 4.47 units. So the favourites are brilliant. And if you bet every match to be a draw on the opening day of the season, where everybody thinks that there's nothing between the sides and, cagey matches, close matches, you'd be doing 21.69 units over a 5-year period. So not many draws, but a 2-2 has been 3 times, and that's quite a profitable score. So that's how you do your research, Mr. Roebuck. You set the bar high from week 1, and then it goes lower and lower as we go through the season.
Well, I like this. I'm massive. I'm a stat man. You know,
biggest shock in those last. Sorry, biggest shock in those last. I've got to say was Tottenham when they beat Man City at home on the first down. The 2021-2022 season, they were 5-1, and last season the biggest priced winner was Aston Villa at 15-8.
Love it.
Oh, plus 185.
Stats. Yeah, that Spurs win was the only time that Pep Guardiola's been beaten on the opening day of the season, incidentally. Plenty more stats, thoughts, leans, picks to come. Slightly different, Nigel, before we get into it, in terms of our staking plan. We've just tweaked it ever so slightly, if you want to explain to our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, a lot of people sent in and said they wanted some changes. They wanted me to give no tips. They wanted Jack to have double tips. They wanted Harry Simeon back. But we actually did make a few changes. Well, I listened to a few people. The only change I did make was
Harry.
I made we got rid of the same game parlay. The same game parlay is gone, but it will return for same game parlay fans. I know there's a few same game parlay fans out there, but it will return for the live show on Saturdays. When we get the team news, when we know who's playing, the Bet Rivers markets are real solid. The same game parlay will be back on a Saturday, but it won't be back on this day because we put the bets in on a Wednesday. Well, Jack does because I'm a bit lazy. But on Wednesday, there isn't really much of an offering until the markets settle down. So we decided to get rid of the same game parlay until Saturday. And also we've done our conkers on it last season. So we wanted to get rid of it as well for that reason as well.
It was a discussion between everyone at the Betting Weekly Towers. There's about 20 of us all. Late into the night, we had the Chinese food round, and in the end, we said, same game parlay in a bin.
There was white smoke going out the Betting Weekly Studios chimney when we got the news through.
Yeah. A lot of people were disappointed, but a lot of people were cheering as well. There's a lot of people who say, can you just not have all this intro and load of nonsense? Can we just have the picks? Well, we've had about 7 minutes of nonsense. Let's get to some thoughts on all the games. Friday night football is where we're going to kick off, fellas. Liverpool against Bournemouth here, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Liverpool are minus 385. They've been bet just a little bit. I mean, Nigel, I thought that, the new signings looked good at Wembley against Crystal Palace. Certainly Verts and Ekitike, but obviously defensively weren't great. What do you make of Liverpool? What is your lean on the game against the Bournemouth side that, of course, have lost pretty much all of their best defenders?
Yeah, well, we've made a big case, myself and Jack, obviously, on the Premier League preview show and obviously on our Instagram account, where there's exclusive picks from everybody there you can get at because we win. We made a case for Liverpool to win this division, and nothing's changed. They've drifted a little bit in the market after that draw with Crystal Palace, but I don't think you read too much into that. I mean, you look at the Community Shields in the past, there has been a few shocks, penalty shootouts. I don't think you read much into it. Obviously, they're a work in progress, aren't they, Liverpool? But they've got so many squad members on the bench who can come on and change it around. I mean, the player that I think rate very highly, Harvey Elliott, Gakpo, Ekitike. I mean, these are players that probably won't play week in and week out. They've got such a good squad. And they're going to score goals. And at Anfield, we know how strong they are. Only one defeat last season. They're pretty much unbeatable at Anfield. And it's not a surprise that everybody expects them to win this match against a depleted defensively Bournemouth side. Minus 385 is the price you're going to get with Bet Rivers. Not really much value in there, but they will win. I'm certain they'll win. The last time Liverpool lost on the opening day of the season was in the first day of the 2012-2013 season. Do you know who beat them? First quiz question of the year. Who beat them? Liverpool.
Palace.
West Brom beat them. First day of the season, 2012-2023. Bournemouth, as you say, all the defenders are out. The one thing about Liverpool, as you said, that the fullbacks, new signings in key positions for the way Liverpool play. So there is an opportunity to get behind the fullbacks, Frimpong and Kirkes. Very attack-minded, so defensively they could be caught out at some stage. Bournemouth, as we know, Evan Nilsson's a great counter-attacking player. They've got pace in the side. They've got goals in the side. They've got Siniestra. Is it Siniestra, the guy? Siniestra. He missed a lot last season. So he's back as well, which makes it that gives their goal threat a possibility. I think Liverpool win. I think it'll be quite a high-scoring game, but the trends of last year. I can see Liverpool winning this something like 3-1, something like that. And my lean in this one would be both teams to score yes, because I just think Liverpool will score. They'll score at least one. And I think the way that they defended against Palace, I give that Bournemouth a little bit of hope of scoring goal here. I don't think they've got any hope of winning it. But my first lean, no official play, my first lean for Liverpool, Bournemouth will be both teams to score yes at -139.
Jack, what do we think here? Defending champions opening weekend record, played 33, won 26, lost only 3. We think that Liverpool should win. There's no juice in the -385. How are you tackling it for a lean?
I'm on exactly the same page as Nigel here. Everything he said there, I've kind of got written down to say myself, so I won't repeat it. But I totally agree. I think Liverpool win. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. 3-1 was the scoreline I had in mind as well. So both teams to score comes into play. So how do we get Liverpool on side with that information? Put it together. Liverpool to win and both teams to score as a lean comes in at +143. So I thought it was a nice, say, plus money play to put into it. As we've said, like that Bournemouth defence, like 80% of their first choice defence have been sold, but to some big sides as well. Kirk is obviously for Liverpool. We might well see him against his former team in this one. Others have gone to Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, so they were doing something right at the back there. But they have got goals in them, as we've said. The only one slight concern would be how Arne Slot has absolutely mentioned that after that Charity Shield, and that they do need to tighten up defensively. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of work done on that in the week. But I still think that they will concede. They conceded in each of their last 9. So 1 clean sheet in their last 9 in the league last season. And both teams have scored in every single pre-season game. As much as you don't want to read too much into it, it does give you a bit of a angle on that, what's happening at both ends of the pitch there. So that's the one for me. Both teams to score and Liverpool to win, +143. Lean.
Salah, incidentally, 9 goals on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. Most in Premier League history is -155 to score at any time. Villa Newcastle may be the pick of the Saturday games. It's early, 7:30 Eastern. Villa +120, Newcastle +210, draw +265 here. Villa were +150 to win the corresponding fixture last year and did. And Newcastle are in a bit of a mess heading into this one. Jack, you've got your 2-unit play for the early kickoff on Saturday.
Yeah, there is a phrase in England that says don't play the early kickoff, but I'm going against that one. I'll meet that one head on. And not only that, as you say, 2-unit play going straight in here. Villa are a side that I like a lot. I've liked them a lot over the last couple of seasons. We've played them quite regularly across those the last couple of season shows, and they've generally been pretty solid for us, to be fair. Unai Emery is a manager that I really, really like. He's done superb work at Villa. He's been ultra consistent as far as the performances are concerned. 68 and 69 points across the last 2 campaigns. Very, very strong at Villa Park. So a side that I'd want to get on board at home pretty much against anyone. And it just seems to be a little bit of a perfect storm. I said to you off air just before we started, is it a little bit of a trap here because we're getting +120 on Aston Villa to beat Newcastle, and a Newcastle side that you said, and everyone's seen it over the summer, in absolute disarray. They probably couldn't have had a worse summer, really. They struggled to get players in. They've obviously needed to bulk up that squad for the Champions League campaign they've got ahead, and also to consolidate that kind of top 4 or 5 position that they're looking to fight for in the league. And they've not been able to do that. And of course, the cherry on a very nasty cake is that Isak has decided he doesn't want to play for him anymore. So he's been banished, training on his own. His days at Newcastle look numbered. Very likely to go to Liverpool. Interesting to see how this one pans out over the next couple of weeks and how they play it. But I say it couldn't be any worse for Newcastle, who are generally speaking a much better side at home anyway. When they're away, it's not, it's something you'd look at, you possibly look to fade anyway. So only Chelsea, City, Liverpool picked up more home points than Villa last season. Only 1 defeat as well. So they are super strong at home. They've managed to keep hold of players that were linked away, including Martinez, the goalkeeper. It'd be interesting to see who gets the starting spot there, because they have made one major sign, and that is a goalkeeper. John McGinn, and the key man for me that they've kept, Ollie Watkins, who looks in absolute fire over pre-season. Again, we talk about pre-season, how much to read into it, but the fact he scored in every single pre-season game he played can only be a benefit. And that link up with cliche time, what is effectively a new signing for him in Emi Buendia, could well be a real magic formula for them over the course of the season. I've seen what Buendia is like at first hand when he gets a connection with a striker, and they do seem to have a really good partnership building there. So for me, this looks like, I say, a good time to take Villa at a very good price at +120. They did win this 4-1 in April, and I'll be honest, I could see a similar scoreline. And obviously the back end of this game will be still in play when we do the live show on Saturday.
Yeah, wear your tin hat just in case.
No.
I'm sure you'll be fine. The last 6 meetings, all over 2.5 goals. Nigel, I mean, Isak's the thing here, isn't it? I mean, he scored 23 goals last season. He missed 4 games for Newcastle last season. Newcastle didn't win any of them. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? This is. I mean, are you on side with her at plus 120? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the price has factored in Isak as much. I'm again, I don't want to be we're going to be pretty boring, but we've agreed on pretty much the first 2 matches and everything that Jack has said here. 2 seasons ago, this was the opening day of the season. 2 seasons ago, and Newcastle won 5-1, and Isak scored 2 goals in that match. It's a bit of a cloud. There is obviously a subplot. Jacob Ramsey, obviously Villa, is a bit linked with a big move to Newcastle, £40 million. As you say, the last 25 goals in the last 6 matches in this fixture has been notoriously high goal scoring. Wouldn't surprise me again to see another high scoring game. I've actually, on the spreads over in England, I've actually bought Aston Villa points at 58.5. Last season, he got 67, the season before 68. Memory's never, ever, ever been out of the top 7 when each side he's managed. I know they're in the Europa League, but he's used to Europa. They've kept all those key players, Martinez, Watkins as well. Watkins any time here at plus 150 was another bet I looked at. But I think Villa will do well this season. I can't understand why anybody would think they're going to be 10 points off what they were last year. And I think they get off to a winning start here. Same as Jack. Moline versus Villa plus 120. Watkins anytime goal scorer as well also appeals to me at plus 150. But I think Newcastle are going to be a bit of a fade. I think they'll be all right at home, obviously. They get huge home support, and we know how passionate the fans are. I think they'll get behind the team. There's no player in Isak's bigger than Newcastle Football Club, but on the road, I think they could find it a little bit tough before they settle things down.
There is a game up in the northeast of England in the Premier League. It's Sunderland back in the big time. Of course, they're taking West Ham 10 a.m. kickoff. Sunderland plus 230, West Ham plus 118. Sunderland only came up via the playoffs, as we know, Jack, but they have invested heavily here, and I think they've signed some really good players. I've backed them on the handicap at plus 52. I mean, for me, West Ham have got a little bit worse here. I mean, how do you see this one? You've got your hot dog. You're steering away from the sort of win-draw-win market, but just give us your thoughts on your hot dog on this one.
Yeah, I have stayed away from it. And this is a really intriguing game, actually, because it's at this early stage of the season, to say the least. Seems like quite a big game. This would certainly come in the winnable category for Sunderland. They're going to earmark certain games. They're at home, first game of the season, big momentum. The crowd, will have a big crowd there, which will be a big factor for them. And you're right, they've made some very good signings and spent a fair bit of money. So the positivity will be there, and it will, for me, will encourage them to have a go at West Ham, because, as I say, they'll think this is one of those winnable games for them at home. I would suggest that the enthusiasm might have been tempered a little bit. They lost 5 of their last 6 in pre-season, so that would be a little bit of a disappointment.
Jack's gone heavy on pre-season, Nigel. That's my feeling from the show so far.
He didn't have any other arguments. He had to fill it for 30 seconds. You tend to do that when you're handicapper. You've got no argument. You have to go delve back. They haven't won this game on August the 13th for 47 years. He's gone there.
Sorry, Jack. I interrupted.
That was the next stat coming up. Sorry about that. And the number one was, no, we ain't there yet on that one.
Shots fired. Come on, Jack.
It's only week 1.
You were saying,
the
Jack.
point I was getting at is, they've conceded a few goals during pre-season. So, 3 against Hearts and 3 at home to Rayo Vallecano. So that would suggest to me that there is that little bit of still bedding in still to be done when they've made quite a lot of new signings. And that West Ham have had a fair decent pre-season. I'm going to think about what I'm saying now, but yeah, they've had a fair decent pre-season. And again, they'll look at this game as that if they lose this, the pressure will be already on them, because Sunderland, as a newly promoted side, should therefore be there for the taking. To be fair, Jared Bowen has been their main man for the last few seasons. 13 goals last season. He had 16 the season before that. 2 goals in pre-season as well, which is all important, of course. And he ended last season, so I'll go back further now and say that he scored in each of the last 4 games for them. So he's a key part of it. And I think with Fulkrug now having his fitness back, that link-up, I think, will be excellent and will bring the best out of Jared Bowen. He also scored in West Ham's last 2 opening away games, so he's going for the hat-trick here. So I'm taking him to score at any time at plus 205, in which game I think could have some goals in it because of how both sides will look to get the win.
I like that. I mean, plus 205, I think it's a standout price. And I know I'm just having a laugh about pre-season there. The one thing I'd take from it, strikers need confidence. If they're scoring goals, they get confidence regardless. I like that one. And Nigel, what do you think here? I'm torn. I want Sunderland to win because of my handicap bet, but West Ham have got a fair record when they're sort of between evens and 6-4 or plus 150 in games like this. And Sunderland are a promoted side. You know, Graham Potter, who's got good Matchday 1 record. He'll look to target it. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think Sunderland, for a team like Sunderland to come into the Premier League via the playoffs and spend £350 million is just staggering, isn't it? It shows you where the top flight football is at this moment in time. It's a big gamble for Sunderland, isn't it? They're gambling big time money that they're going to have enough to stay in this division, and I think it's going to take them time. We see when 3 players come into a new team, it takes a bit of time. They could virtually have 8 new starters playing in this match, so that is going to be a difficult one for them. West Ham are just too inconsistent for me to trust them. I think this is a game that both sides will target, that they need to get something from it. And I think potentially for that reason, it possibly could be a draw. I did say at the beginning of the show that there hasn't been, you would do your money betting on draws, but this one has got a feeling that it just kind of look about of a draw for me. A point wouldn't be a bad result. I got a feeling this is a massive, massive, massive season for Graham Potter. He's got to get off to a good start. If he gets off to a bad start, he's under huge pressure there. And I think that the fans will turn him quickly. The only downside for Bowen, and the reason I probably not as excited about it as I would have been last year, is obviously Fulkirk is back to fitness, and I think he's going to take a good share of goals as well. And also they've now got Callum Wilson as well, haven't they? So from Bournemouth, so that they've got some options up front now. And if things aren't working,
Newcastle.
Bowen, sorry.
From Newcastle.
From Newcastle, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think if things aren't, I said Bournemouth, it was his former club. If things aren't working up top for West Ham, they can change it around a little bit. So Bowen minutes might not be as high as they used to be on the pitch. They could change it around a little bit, go 2 up front, take Bowen off, bring someone else on with a bit more pace, a bit more direct. So I understand why Jack has gone for that, but it's surprising, isn't it? If you look at Bet Rivers' odds for this match, Jared Bowen is actually the 3rd most likely player to score for West Ham behind those 2. So they might feel that he might be playing more as in a sort of number 10 role or on a wing side role, and they might go with those 2 as their out-and-out strikers. I don't know if that's how they looked set up during pre-season, because I don't pay any attention to anything during pre-season. But that would suggest to me that he might not play the out-and-out striker. Interesting one for me. I'm probably go a little bit against Jack on this one. First disagreement of the season. I'll probably go under 2.5 goals at minus 104 rather than the over 2.5 goals. I can see both sides being very, very happy with a 1-1 draw here.
Tottenham against Burnley. Next up, 10 a.m. on Saturday. Tottenham minus 278. Burnley plus 700. Thomas Frank unbeaten on match day 1 as a coach, obviously all with Brentford in the Premier League. 1-2 drawn, 2 from 4. Fixtures. Nigel, Spurs, the European Super Cup last night. I mean, in isolation, a 2-2 draw with Paris Saint-Germain and a penalty defeat, you think, well, that's all right, that's encouraging. But leading 2-0 with however many minutes to go, I mean, they've got to be on a downer coming back from northeast Italy to take on Burnley. What did you make of that, and what do you think here? We betting Tottenham short prices, or getting with Burnley maybe on the Asian line? They don't get beat by big numbers as we saw in the Championship.
Well, he's definitely going to take he's definitely going to take the positives, isn't he, Dan? He's going to look at the first 80 minutes or 75 minutes of that match and turn around and say we were brilliant, and they were really, really good. They defended superbly, and they were depleted with injuries as well. So and they matched the European champions. So and they should have beat the European champions, who admittedly were exhausted. So he's going to look at the positives. He's not going to look at the negatives and think, "Oh, we threw away a 2-goal lead."
What do we look at though? What do bettors look
I don't think it makes much of a difference, because I think Tottenham, if Tottenham had a trip to Sunderland on opening day of the season, I think I may look into it as a factor. They've got to travel up to Sunderland, an expectant crowd, but the fact they're at home to newly promoted Burnley, who everyone thinks is going to get relegated, I think it's an ideal bounce back opportunity. But saying that, last season, Tottenham got beat at home by Ipswich and Leicester. But obviously it's a very, very different looking Tottenham side this time around. I think there's still a massive work in progress at Tottenham. I don't believe for 1 minute they're going to go straight and challenge for the top four or bounce straight back in the top six. I think it's a work in progress. I think the loss of Maddison is huge. There's still talk they're trying to get Eze in. They bit kudos in as well. But I think everything for me here is on Solanke. I know we're very, very sweet on him to have a good season. I really think he's going to have a great season. Jack put out the best prop bet of the season in the preview show with Solanke to be the top Tottenham goal scorer at 2-1. He's plus 120 to score in this match. Tottenham are minus 278. He's their out-and-out striker. He's going to take penalties. He was the first person to take a penalty in the shootout, so it shows you that he's going to take pens. He went up and he slotted it away fairly comfortably. If you look at, I think he was rested for that match, so he's ready to go here. I think Tottenham are going to need him, and we've said about how Thomas Frank has worked wonders with strikers before. You know, it's Ivan Toney and Boomer, Wissa, and before that, Malpay. And I think if you compare Solanke at plus 120 to score at any time and Haaland at minus 129 to score at any time on a trip from Man City to Wolves, I know he's got a fantastic record in the Premier League, but at home at minus $3 against the weakest team in the Premier League, your main striker on pens, and you're getting plus 120, I think that's a big price. I think any main striker, when you're minus $3 and your team's in for almost 2 goals and your penalties, should be minus money. So plus 120 Solanke is my lean here. Very close to an official play, and I will be betting that. So I will be betting that Solanke.
Like it, yeah. I mean, he's had a very minor injury, hasn't he? I think if that was a Premier League game at the weekend or a proper cup final, he probably would have started. Sorry, last night. Yeah, he probably would have started. So I'm pretty sure he's going to start this one. What's your thoughts on this one, Jack? I mean, you know, you look at the Burnley stats and 30 clean sheets last season, but all in the Championship. Trafford's gone, again, Ryder's gone. It's a different league and it's a different team, isn't it? I don't know how they're going to cope this campaign. What have you got for us for this one?
Yeah, I'm very anti-Burnley this season, to be honest with you. And so, yeah, they had incredible, mind-blowing stats last season, only conceding 16 goals, 30 clean sheets was crazy, it really was. They have lost those key players. They also massively overperform their expected goals against, so by about 20. So they are throwing up chances. They threw up chances last season. They got away with it. We know full well. And as Vincent Kompany found out a couple of seasons ago when he brought Burnley into this league and tried to play his way into mid-table, it is a massive step up and you will get found out and you will get caught out, especially in that final third where there are ruthless strikers and creative midfielders looking to pounce on any error. So, yeah, I'm with Tottenham here and the fact they will get chances and likely score goals. I thought they were very impressive for 80% of that game last night. The energy they showed, the organisation they showed, the desire they showed as well. One thing certainly though, Thomas Frank is caught up with how to be Spursy very, very quick, going 2-0 up and then throw it away right at the end. So fair play to him on that one. He's bought into the club ethos, quite quickly. So what I've gone, a good few of our followers also like the odd prop bet. So I've put a couple forward. I'll try and do a couple each week, and here's the first one of 2. And I've gone for Papa Sarr over 0.5 shots on target here at plus 135 as a lean. He's generally been a kind of defensive midfielder under Ange Postecoglou in his Spurs career, but the Maddison injury has seen him move further forward. So these are the things that you look for when you're betting the props markets, is players that are playing in slightly different positions from what they used to. So he's been priced up more as that defensive midfielder. He scored 3 goals in pre-season, and he was very, very good last night. I thought his energy, his work rate around the pitch, he was in very advanced areas. He was very unlucky. I was glad he didn't, because I was thinking this could blow the price on this bet if he did score or had a shot on target. But the Romero goal, he headed across. If the keeper gets a proper hand on it, then he's there to tap in at the back post. And Wolf Romero had squared it. And also he had a shot on target ruled out for an earlier foul in the penalty box. So he was there or thereabouts, and he looks a threat. So playing in that more advanced role where Maddison was playing, certainly at this moment in time until they buy a replacement, is someone I'll be looking at. So over 0.5 shots on target for me for a side against a side that we expect to be up against it and conceded plenty of chances last season. Plus 135 is a lean for me.
Brighton Fulham is the other 10 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. Brighton's matchday 1% win is good. 62.5, which is second best in the Premier League. No João Pedro though here, Jack, and Baleba may be on his way to Manchester United. We don't know. I mean, I know that we're both on Brighton for sort of top 6, and to have good seasons, aren't we? We're hoping that Baleba stays because he's a brilliant player. They're minus money, a bit of value there. Do you think we've got leans from the boys on this one, Jack?
Yeah, possibly. There was 2 games that I did struggle for picks, to be honest. Only 2, and this was one of them. Could I get Brighton on side? I've gone with it in the end at minus 110 as my lean for them to win, purely based on the fact that we talked about in the future show, that I'm quite sweet on them to finish in the top 6. So they will need to have a strong home record. They will need to win these kind of games. They do have a very strong opening day record, and Fulham, on the other hand, have a pretty poor opening day record as well. And I mentioned it at the top of the show, sides that kind of limped over the line last season, since sometimes have a little bit of a hangover going into the new one. And they did that. They looked like they were going to be challenging for Europe for much of last season. They ended up in the bottom half. So Nigel's touched on it. Silva doesn't seem the happiest manager in the league, possibly agitating for a move somewhere else. So I'm not massively keen on Fulham. They've had a decent pre-season, but they've also not added much. They've not had much go out either. So they're kind of where they were at the back end of last season. So they did have a bit of a hoodoo over Brighton, but Brighton did break that in the last game, which was at the Amex as well, which they won 2-1. So that can be put in the history books now, and we look for them to kick on and do it. So look, they only lost 9 times last season to Brighton. This is why we're quite sweet on the fact now, and the fact they haven't got European soccer this season will help that. Only the top 2 lost fewer games than them, which is a fair statement to make for a side that we say are kind of challenging for that part of the table. They only lost 3 at home as well. So really, really strong stuff. Only Liverpool, Arsenal, City and Newcastle scored more goals than them as well. And you mentioned João Pedro. I mentioned it again in the future show. He did only get 5 goals from open play. So there are other players around there, Matoma, Welbeck, 1 or 2 others as well, and the new lads that have come in. We're interested to see how they get on. Brighton don't tend to make too many errors in the transfer market, and I think you mentioned him there, Believe, about going. They only tend to release players when they are ready to release them. I'm not sure they are yet. So money talks, of course, but I think he'll certainly be available for this one. And I'm taking Brighton on the money line as a lean at minus 110.
Yeah, he has been training with Brighton. He's not doing an Isak. I don't think he wants to go, but I think if United came in with sort of 100 million plus, he might do. Nigel, how do you assess this one? I mean, Marcos, have we talked about him? Doesn't seem right, does it, at Craven Cottage at the moment? He's got a good record against Brighton as Fulham coach. Are we on the Brighton train at minus money? What you got for us?
Yeah, I'm on the Brighton train as well, minus 110. I think they'll win this match against the Fulham side that have made no real significant signings. Nothing's really changed for them. A side that were going nowhere at the end of last season. A manager that wanted to be going somewhere, and that was over into the Saudi League. Brighton, obviously, João Pedro, and everyone's making it up. João Pedro was I thought was a risk to buy João Pedro at the price that Chelsea bought him for. And it's only everyone's think he's an absolute sensation. He's back of a couple of matches that he played in the Club World Cup. I mean, he didn't do hardly anything for Brighton last season. I think that Brighton, Tony Bloom is one of the shrewdest operator. Well, he's the shrewdest operator in the world of football. And for him to sell João Pedro and go and splash out 28 million on a Greek 18-year-old, I mean, that is that sort of 30 million on Kostelous. He sees something there in this kid that he thinks is the future, and you can't argue with the greatest brain in world football. So wait and see Kostelous going to Liverpool in 2 years for £125 million. It's an absolute certainty. The one thing Brighton do though is they concede both teams to score was always a great bet for their match, especially in the early part of last year. Hosler was a manager that wanted to play in a certain way that made himself open at the back. And I think nothing will change with Brighton. Their record that Jack said there, and that it speaks for itself. I mean, under the radar really, because they drew so many matches last season. But I think Brighton win this, and I do think both teams will score. Fulham do offer a goal. So if you want to boost that up from the minus 110 on Brighton on the money line, Brighton and both teams to score, pays plus 240 with Bet Rivers. I think there's goals. This last season was 2-1 and 3-1. Brighton won 2-1, Fulham won 3-1. So both teams scored and the home team won. And I think the same will happen again here.
Yeah, I think last season these two were the top 2 for both teams to score, weren't they? I think.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah. So it does.
Yeah, I mean, but both are well worth following that sort of market, and you're right about Brighton. The way that they play, it does tend to open it up to the opposition. We've seen that an awful lot. Let's get to the tea time game in the UK, which is 12:30 US. It's Wolves, Man City, Eastern, of course. Wolves plus 575 here. Nigel, City a minus 240. Dealt through the stats. City minus money away from home. last season didn't have a great season, but didn't have a great season full stop for them to a certain extent, even though they were the best team in terms of points all second half of the campaign. You've got your one unit play to offer us here at the game at Molineux. What you got?
Yeah, I expect Man City to start strong. They start strong pretty much every single Premier League season over the last 10 years. They've won 9 of their last 10 in the Premier League. The only defeat, as you said earlier in the show, was the Pep Guardiola defeat against Tottenham. Biggest price ever for a defeat there, but they usually win their opening day of the season. And I think they're going to come out here fast. Man City usually end fast. When it gets down to the stretch, they finish really, really well. But I think this is the most competitive Premier League we've had for many years. 4 teams in single-figure odds, and you've got to start fast. People are going to lose players in the AFCON as well, so it's essentially got points on the board. And I think Wolves are in for a bit of a torrid time here against Manchester City. Obviously, Haaland didn't have the greatest of seasons last year. First time ever, he had a bit of injuries, but still managed to weigh in with 20-plus goals. They've brought in some quality players to recruitment. Mamouche's got a full season. Reinders is going to be, I think he's going to be one of the best players in the Premier League, judging by his performance. He was brilliant the other day against Palermo. Kevin De Bruyne obviously is the player that he's more or less going to replace. They've got talk about Donnarumma coming. He won't be in for this game, but obviously that'll be a massive, massive signing for him as well with Trafford as well. And then you've got to remember that they've got, not at the moment, but Rodri's back, the Ballon d'Or winner. So Man City are going to be a force again this season. I don't think they're going to close the gap on Liverpool, but I think in Champions League and cup competitions, Man City are going to be back to their best. They've got a brilliant record at the start of the season, as I touched on, and you compare that to Wolves, who have lost their key defender, who's gone to Man City, Aonori. They've also lost Kuna, the goals that he created, and he's
their best player.
That is their best player, and he's gone. And then if you look, I said it in the, I think it was the preview show, the live show I said the other day, that when we spoke about Wolves in the relegation bit, I think Wolves are in trouble this year. I think the honeymoon period for Pereira is over. They ended the last season in sort of mixed form, but their record in August is absolutely atrocious. They've only won one opening day of the season since they returned back to the Premier League in 2018-2019. And that win on the opening day was their only win in August in 19 matches since they've been in the Premier League. So that's half a season form. 19 matches in August, Wolves have only had one win. So historically, it takes some time to get into their groove. They've got a team in Man City who have got so many more recruitments. I'm expecting a big year from Phil Foden. I think he'll bounce back this year. I was looking at Phil Foden, some props, He was the best young player in the country a couple of years ago. He's not a massive price to win the Player of the Year. I think Foden's going to have a good year. He's got to have a good year. It's World Cup year. He's fighting for his place. So that's another thing about, we haven't mentioned yet, World Cup year. People at Man City will want to be going well for World Cup year. And I think Wolves are in for a tough ask. I'm going to go for Man City -1.25 at -117. So Man City have only got to win and we get half of our stake. If they win by 2 goals, we obviously get the full stake. But City have won their 9 of the last 10, so you would have collected at least half of that bet in 9 of the last 10 seasons. And Wolves just absolutely abysmal in the month of August. So a tough afternoon for Wolves. Man City get back on track. Man City to cover the spread. -1.25 Asian handicap, -117. And that is is it my 2U or my 1U? I can't remember. It's my 1U. My 1U play. Yeah, 1U play. -117.
Jack, your thoughts on this one? I mean, I looked at, as Nigel was saying, the players that have gone out of Wolves are significant. The players that have come in, I thought, well, hang on a minute. We talked about John Arias in the Club World Cup previews, and it stuck in my mind that we talked about him a lot, so he must have had a good tournament. Well, he only scored 1. So I'm sort of rowing back on my thoughts about the Fluminense player. 23 and 120 in Brazil, and he'll probably have a stormer at the weekend. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm interested to see him because I saw a couple of games where he was exceptional in the Club World Cup and a couple where he really disappointed. So we'll see which will the real John Arias stand up. We will see. But no, I'm with Nigel on it. I think this is a real tough game for Wolves. I think City win it as well. But I've gone with the goals angle. Over 3 Asian total. I thought it might have been a bit higher than that, to be fair. So 3 goals and we get a full refund. 4 or more goals for the win at -113. And yeah, Wolves look like they're in a bit of trouble. And I agree with him as far as the end of last season. They only picked up 1 point from the last 4 games last season. And But I said the City defence, I think, is still in a bit of transition. So I think they might well be susceptible to a goal. But going forward, I think they could rip Wolves apart in this one, to be fair. Been at least 3 goals in 9 of the last 11 Premier League meetings across all venues, with 5 wins and 4 pushes for this particular bet. The last 6 meetings have seen 24 goals, so exactly 4 goals per game, 3 wins, 3 pushes. And only Brighton saw more games last season with 3 or more goals in it than Wolves. 25 of their 38 had at least 3 goals in it. So for me, that's the angle I've gone for. Over 3, Asian total, -113.
Just a lean for Jack in that one when it comes to the Wolves-Man City game. Let's move on to the Sunday fixtures. Got a couple at 9 a.m. First of all, we've got Chelsea against Crystal Palace, and we've got Nigel's hot dog in this one. Chelsea -180, 4 weeks after the Club World Cup win over Paris Saint-Germain. And we saw Paris Saint-Germain look a little bit leggy against Spurs. Palace looked good in the Community Shield, won it, of course, on a penalty shootout. I mean, I think that Chelsea are a vulnerable near -$2 favourite here, Nigel. How do you assess it, and what's your hot dog?
I'll be at this match on Sunday. I'm looking forward to this one. I want to see, the reason I want going, I want to see Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer's going to have a monster of a year as well, another player. World Cup year, I think he's England's most important player. If we play him in the right position, I think the England team should be built around him. Forget Bellingham, forget Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane should be in the team, but that's another question, another show. But I think Cole Palmer's going to have a monster of a season here. And if he can keep that form from the Club World Cup, where he was the player of the tournament, goals, assists, he's going to be the difference between these two sides. Obviously, Palace have got their man in Eze, but I actually I know Eze quite well from his, well, not well, but I know him, and I know people who know him, and he's quite a quiet, reserved kid. Obviously, he's into chess, and he's into his faith, and I don't think he'll like having his head turned by the situation, and I've got a feeling Eze might be a little bit worried about it, and I think it will affect his performance. He's that kind of young lad. He's obviously linked with Arsenal. He's obviously linked with Tottenham. And first day of the season at Chelsea, you want everybody at it. And I'm not quite sure Eze will be at it for them. And that's a big problem for them. Obviously, he missed the penalty in the penalty shootout the other day. And he didn't have one of his best games against Liverpool. He's exceptional, but he didn't have a good game. So clearly something on there. The one thing I think Palace will score here because they're great on the counter-attack. Mateta is a huge threat, ruffles them up. And we know that Colwell is out for Chelsea for the season, probably their best defender. But going forward, Chelsea look good again, didn't they? I mean, Pedro, you've got Fernandes, Neto, great players. Reece James is playing in a more advanced position as well, so he's whipping balls into them. The relationship between James and Palmer will be strong, not only for club but for country as well. The only one problem with Chelsea, I think, is the goalkeeper. I don't rate Sanchez, despite him having a good Club World Cup. I'm not quite convinced by him. So for that reason, I think there'll be goals. But my prop, my dog here, is basically my hot dog is Cole Palmer's getting an assist at plus 280. I wanted to get with Cole Palmer in this market. I bet him to be the top assist in the Premier League. I think 7-1 each way. It was a pick I've given on this show, so I think you get off to a good start. I think he got 3 assists in the Club World Cup. He got goals in the Club World Cup. He's plus 120 to get a goal, but plus 280 to get assists. Didn't have a full season out of him last year, but the season before we did get a full season out of him for Man City and Chelsea, and he was 5th in the assist table. This season, I think he's gonna be full of confidence at the peak of his career, and I think we're expecting a massive year from Cole Palmer, and we're going to go for a bit of a value play, anytime assist at plus 280. It's a bit more than double the price of any time goal scorer. And the relationship between him and Pedro looks so good in that Club World Cup and in that final, in particular against Paris Saint-Germain. They seem to be on the same wavelength, working together in training as well before going into the first match of the season. That's only going to get stronger. So my hot dog, anytime assist Cole Palmer to get an assist in a match at plus 280.
Palmer, the provider for Chelsea against Palace. I'm going to back Palace -122 with a goal start. What have you got for us, Jack? Here, just a lean. You're looking at one of the Palace performers of the day in the Community Shield. Thought he had a really good game.
Absolutely, yeah. I've gone with Ismail Assar here to have over 0.5 shots on target. My second prop bet of the slate, at plus 125, which I think is a really good price. He tends to fly a little bit under the radar. The focus tends to go, and understandably so, on Mateta and on Eze. But he's been really consistent, especially towards the back end of last season. As you said, he was very good in the Community Shield. So a consistent provider of shots on target. Over last season, he actually averaged a shot on target every 93.5 minutes. So that is, in essence, one a game, which is all we need here from him. And that's as an average, which is very, very good. He's had at least one shot on target in 5 of his last 6 league games. And his pre-season record, scored in the Community Shield, as you said. He also had shots on target against Augsburg, 2 against Crawley, and 2 against England, and 1 against Ireland. He scored in both those games as well when he was playing for Senegal, of course, in the internationals as well. So a man that's kind of continued his form throughout the back end of last season and into the new one. And I think you'll get a few chances because, I say, that Palace defence and that Chelsea defence is a little susceptible. So I think he can take advantage there at that price.
Lovely. Let's get to Forest Brentford, 9 a.m. Sunday. And we've got a 3-unit play for you here. What's that? A 3-unit play? Whoever was talking about it last season, it's just a combination of a 2U and a 1U. It's not an official 3-unit play. We've not changed the rules 40 minutes into the first season. Forest against Brentford. The boys have gone for the same pick basically here. Forest at plus 104, Brentford plus 265. I mean, Forest massively underachieved. I'd bet them to go down. Whether they will or not, I don't know, but I think their value price around about 10 to 1. But we have got 2U and a 1U. Nigel, you're first up because you have put some chips into the middle of the table here and let it spin because you've got your 2U play on this one.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a new season without me having a 2U play on an under 2.5 goal. It's been the same under 2.5 goal bet for the last 20 Premier League seasons, and hopefully we can cash it. I think this is going to be a very, very nervy, quite a cagey match here. It really is. I think it's a huge season for both of these teams, massive. Nottingham Forest obviously overachieved last season in European football, but the end of the season they sort of didn't do much towards the end. They were hanging on. They should have really gone into the Champions League, but they got nervy, lost a few matches, and the warning signs are there for next season. The people who are playing in Europe and then with a small squad, it's going to be hard for them. And with Brentford, to lose Mbumu, to lose Thomas Frank, Wissa potentially could go as well, and bring in a rookie manager in Keith Andrews. It's going to be a very, very, very tough learning curve. So this is already. This kind of match is, I don't think this is a match that either manager just will be delighted if they get a point here. I think so. I think this is a match that neither of them will want to lose. Anyone who gets off, if these two sides get off to a bad start, lose 2 or 3 of their opening games, then they're bang in trouble. Brentford haven't lost an opening day fixture since returning to the Premier League, as you told us with the stat about Thomas Frank. And Forest's last 9 matches in the Premier League last season, if you want to go to last season's form as well, obviously, They've 8 of them was under 2.5 goals. The 2 matches between the 2 of them last season were both cashed under 2.5 goals. They were both 2-0 wins for Brentford and Forest, both on the road. They both won the road matches. And I just got this feeling here. This is the one. These are the 2 sides that every person who you speak to expects a huge downgrade on. If you asked everybody, not the Forest in Europe challenging for Europa League, challenging for Champions League, a lot of people are talking them up as being relegation candidates, and Brentford exactly the same. So many people think they're going to get relegated from a team that have always been challenging for mid-table, even top half. The positive for Nottingham Forest fans, and this is a big, big positive for Nottingham Forest fans, the 2 people on our panel are handicappers who reckon that Nottingham Forest are going to get relegated are Dan Roebuck and Simon Holden. So that is a massive, massive, massive positive for any Nottingham Forest fan. But for me, I think under 2.5 goals and minus 120 is the best bet of the weekend card. No, none of these sides, I think 1-1, 0-0, both managers well pleased with it.
I was at the Brentford friendly last Friday against Borussia Mönchengladbach. It was a 2-2 draw, but the general consensus was that, yes, obviously attacking players have gone, but defensively they might actually be a little bit better because Kelleher's probably an upgrade on Fleck, and I get the unders train with this one. Jack, obviously I've trailed it. You've got a 1U play on this one. What to add to Nigel's stats here? Because, I mean, as Nigel's pointed out, there's a lot of ticks in the right boxes for an unders play.
Yeah, absolutely agree with everything he said. So I'll just try and pick up on a couple of things different.
What you mean?
from that.
Even the Simon and Dan
That's the
thing?
bit
Do you
he
agree
agreed
with that
most.
as
That's
well?
the bit he agreed most with, didn't you, Jack?
That was the bit right at the top that I highlighted and underlined as well. So I will reiterate that one at the end. But I think you look at Forest last season and why we think they're unsustainable with this season, as well as the fact they're in Europe, is that they scored 17 goals from set pieces. So where would their goals come from? It's come from those set plays. Chris Wood only had 68 shots, 35 on target, yet he scored 20 goals. That is not a sustainable conversion rate. 26% was the best in the Premier League. Only 3 keepers made more saves than Matt Sells, and one was Brentford's. So both, and as you say, if you think Kelleher's an upgrade on Flecken, then we're in a situation where they've both got very, very strong goalkeepers in play here to keep the ball out of the net, which is what we want, of course, for this particular bet. And also, so Forest tends to kind of steer clear of the major injuries. They named a fairly unchanged side throughout the last campaign. The key thing with Wood, 20 goals, yes, but he only scored 2 goals in his last 13 appearances. He's getting another year older. And I think that was a bit of an outlier as far as that campaign's concerned. We'll see how he goes this time round. But only 3 sides cashed under 2.5 goals more than Forest last season. 19 of 38 went under, but a joint higher 13 of 18 at home. And let's go back to pre-season because it is so very important certainly when you're trying to validate a bet. 7 pre-season games, 6 cashed under 2.5 goals, 5 nil-nil detector, nil-nils in that run of games as well. And Nigel said both these games cashed last season for unders. So 1 unit play for me, under 2.5 goals, minus 120.
Big game of the weekend is on Sunday, 11:30. It's United against Arsenal. Arsenal plus 102. Last time that they played, opening weekend of the season, back in the 89-90 campaign, Arsenal were champions. United won 4-1. Can you name the goal scorers, Nigel?
What year was it?
89-90, pre-Premier League. First quiz of the season.
Alan
Jack, can you name
Smith.
the
Alan
goal scorers?
Smith.
No.
Ian Wright.
United won 4-1.
McLeod.
Oh, sorry. Mark
McLeod's
Hughes.
one.
Mark Hughes.
Hughes is another.
Kanchelskis.
Brian
After
Robson.
Robbo didn't get one, no.
Pat.
Neil Webb, who ran the game, got one, and Steve Bruce opened the scoring, and Rocky
Brucey,
Roadcastle scored for Arsenal.
Oh, right.
The Gunners have been minus money favourites for this one, Nigel, last few seasons, but not for this one. Should they be? Are we getting a little bit too hyped up about United's attacking players here? I mean, they still look short in midfield, defensively, keeper. Should we bet Arsenal at plus money? What are your thoughts?
Well, that was exactly what I've got. It's a new look United side. Sesko, Kuna and Oma are still the same old defenders and the same old goalkeeper flapping around at the back. Arsenal obviously have upgraded their attack massively in Gyökeres. My only concern with Gyökeres is that he does well against sort of bottom sides, and if you took Man United's form for last season, they are a bottom side.
There you go.
They're a bottom side.
That's it.
So
hat-trick.
I think the whole market just expects a massive, massive turnaround from Manchester United. And really, if you look at last year, would you be betting this side at the prices they are? They're 25-1 to win the Premier League title. They were 2 spots off relegation last year. I mean, it's insane, the faith and the amount of people that have bought into this, because there's still 5 or 6 players short of anywhere near like challenging, in my opinion. And I do think they'd be entertaining, though. I think watching Man United this season will be entertaining. They're going to concede an awful lot. They're going to score an awful lot. And I think that's why I've gone for over 2.5 goals here at minus 121. I think there's goals in this match. I think it'll be quite an entertaining match. Arsenal will have strengthened in attacking positions, and Manchester United have strengthened in attacking positions. We know Arsenal are very strong defensively. I think it gives them the edge in that defensive part of the pitch, but I just think there's goals. Over 2.5. Keep it nice and simple, minus 121. Can't really have an opinion on Man United until we see at least 6 matches. And I think the market's gone crazy.
Let's get an opinion on Man United from Jack.
Yeah, I'm pretty down on United for the season, but I've gone on a plus handicap here. Plus half goal at minus 125. This was the other game, I mentioned it earlier, that I couldn't really have a strong opinion on because I just don't know what we're going to get from Manchester United. Probably the best feel-good factor there's been around the club because of a half-decent pre-season, some decent marquee signings that's been for a while. But for me, that means they can't lose this game, because if they do, that's going to be a hammer blow to that kind of atmosphere early doors. And for me, the reason I went with it really is they do tend to raise their game at home against the better sides. When you look at last season, they beat Villa at home and they drew with City, Chelsea and with Arsenal. Last two meetings between the two sides ended 1-1. Only one defeat in the last 4 meetings at Old Trafford between the two sides, and only 2 defeats in the last 18 at Old Trafford. So I've gone with one of my weakest plays of the weekend, certainly. And one, Nigel said he will be betting that lean he had earlier. This is a lean I won't be betting myself, but plus half goal, Asian handicap, -125.
Tentative from Jack. United got the best opening day record in the Premier League, 22 wins from 33. Arsenal, fourth best, 19 from 33. But a lot of those stats when United were a much better team, very different team. We have gone on for quite a long time, but it is match day 1. Forgive us. Hopefully you're still with us. Leeds, Everton to round things up on Monday. We got a couple of leans from the boys here. Jack, you can go first. I'll let Nigel have the last word on the weekend. Leeds are favourites here, Jack. Everton won the last 3 games last season, including at Champions League chasing Newcastle on the last day of term. Why aren't we betting Everton at +185 with Jack Grealish and co? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Grealish starts. I imagine he will do. But I've gone with goals in this, over 2.5 goals, +118. It'll be a white atmosphere at Ellen Road. They'll be great to be back in the Premier League. And despite only winning on goal difference, they were by far and away the best side in the Championship last season. 100 points, 95 goals, 61 of those come at Ellen Road. They won't be able to sit back and just soak up. Their fans will demand they go forward on the front foot, which could leave them open to Everton on the counter-attack. And Everton, as you said, have finally got some magic dust in that final third, in the attacking third. So looking forward to seeing how that all transpires. But obviously I know Daniel Farke and how his poor record is in the Premier League, but he has taken some big scalps by playing the way he does. He'll be front foot. He'll look to play attractive attacking football. Could be his undoing again, like it has been the last couple of times, although he's got more to work with this time round. And I say Everton are a danger. They've added some very, very good talent. So I've just gone with goals on a Monday night in the UK. +118.
Nigel, last word on the first weekend of the Premier League season to you. Are we betting Everton +185? You made a great point about the England squad. That's why Jack Grealish has gone to Everton. He's going to play. He wants to get back in it. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I've said all along, I think Everton will have a good season. I mean, when teams go to new homes, West Ham, Arsenal, fans don't really want to leave. They don't want to leave the Upton Park. They didn't want to leave Highbury, and it took them a season. But I think the Everton fans are absolutely ecstatic about going there. That you see the interviews with everybody else, the pre-season friendlies they've had there, that they can't wait to get going. So I think Everton will have a great season. So Dewsbury Hall's a great sign as well. I mean, not only Jack Grealish. I mean, I think they're going to be a lot more entertaining this year. Everton, Leeds. At home, these are the kind of games they've got to win, and we know they've got one way of playing, attacking. And the last 10 years on the opening day of the fixtures, last 10 years, first day of the season for Leeds fixtures, every single one of them has cashed over 2.5. Obviously, they've been in the Championship in that period. Obviously, but in the Premier League, there's been some huge score lines. I looked at something, 4-3s, 3-3s. Leeds have been involved in some epic opening day seasons. Leeds have to start well. They have to start well. They have to get the crowd behind them. The new owners have to get everyone to believe. New people running the club as well. They've got to get the belief that they're involved. They've upgraded their goalkeeper. They needed a goalkeeper change. They've got the goalkeeper change. Everton are much more attack-minded. Got some good players. I expect goals. Over 2.5 goals. I agree with Jack. +118. I'm really surprised at that price. I thought it'd be about even money. I also like both teams to score yes at -113. I wouldn't like to say which way the game will go, but I think the last word will be the old Desmond. 2-2, opening day of the season. Very profitable scoreline, first day of the season. Leeds v Everton, the old Desmond, 2-2, over 2.5 goals, +118.
Could be entertaining on Monday night or 3 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We will keep everybody up to date, of course, with our exit fees. That is a wrap. Betting Weekly Premier League Show, Match Day 1. Get your picks in the comments section of YouTube. Of course, always interested to know what you're betting across the Premier League weekend. Don't forget, live show 9 a.m. Saturday, team news, reaction, market movements, best prop bets. It's us 3 again for Match Day 1, incidentally. And of course, 11 a.m. Eastern every midweekday for Betting Weekly Live. Follow us at Because We Win and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. From all of us for now, though, have a good Match Day 1 in the Premier League. We'll speak soon.